I've got a lot of colors, but what if I only used 3? Let's find out. For this painting, I'll be using Yellow Ochre, PY43, French Ultramarine, PB29, and Quinacridone Magenta, PR202. Wait, Jesper, get out of... Before I paint this portrait, I wanted to do a quick color chart so I could see how the colors work together. I'll walk through the painting process a little bit, but I really just want to highlight the colors here. I actually picked out these 3 colors because I wanted to see their rich, muted combinations. I've only added Yellow Ochre to my color palette recently, and I love how it virtually mutes the ultramarine blue. It doesn't make this green, it makes a dusty, grayish green. Now you may be wondering, why limit to only 3 colors? And that's a good question. When you limit your colors, you're giving yourself a limited range of possibilities. This kind of forces you into a corner to stretch your creativity. You'll end up making creative choices that you wouldn't otherwise. So instead of using the full color wheel, you'll end up using only a slice of it. When you limit your colors, you'll also be able to create really harmonious paintings because all of the colors work well perfectly. You're not just throwing in a random color that you haven't used elsewhere. These colors will be used throughout the painting process. The Yellow Ochre is a pretty muted yellow, so it naturally mutes everything else. It's not a high tinting strength, so it kind of brings down the color intensity. The Quinacridone Magenta is a deep and vivid red, and it plays with both of the other colors pretty well. I don't normally use this color. I usually use a Quinacridone red instead, but I thought it would work pretty well in this painting. And as you'll see, the violets made with this French Ultramarine and the Quinacridone Magenta will be a highlight of the painting. And that French Ultramarine, it's just a staple in my palettes. I use it all the time, which is why the tube was almost empty, as you saw earlier. It's a really nice granulating blue, and it makes some really nice mixes. One challenge with these 3 colors is that it's kind of difficult to make a really dark. There's not much tinting strength in anything other than the magenta a little bit, so if I end up wanting to make dark colors, they end up leaning a little bit red. What drew me to these 3 colors was that as I was watching a video about Yellow Ochre and French Ultramarine, I noticed how much they canceled each other out, and I love the green-gray mixes that can be made. I almost didn't add a red to this palette. I was thinking about doing something of a more browner or greener color, but I ended up going with this red just to make a fuller range of color. But maybe in the future I'll do more creative limited color palettes. Speaking of which, if you have suggestions for a future 3 color challenge, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. So as you can see, you can get quite a bit done with this palette. But at the same time, you're not going to get the extremely vivid colors that you would normally if you had other colors and a wider range of hues. I decided to paint a portrait with these colors, but I'm also kind of curious what a landscape would look like. My first layer is going to be a wet and wet layer, so I'm pre-wetting the paper to drop in the colors, and they'll end up drying quite a bit lighter, and I'll do subsequent layers. I'll do 2 or 3 more layers to get the hue and the values right. The Yellow Ochre and Magenta are excellent for skin tones. Normally I have to add another paint to mute the color further, but this yellow is extremely desaturated already, so it works pretty well. As we get further in the painting, I'll bring in the blue to mix and mute them more. With watercolor, the layers build on each other. The colors see through each other, kind of like stained glass, and this is important because it means that each layer will only make a color more and more muted. You can never make a painting more vibrant with subsequent layers in watercolor. So with the initial layer, you want to use the vibrancy while you have it, and you want to preserve it, just like you preserve whites with watercolor. Now in the reference, the hair is a really dark brownish black, but like I said, the color combo can't really produce that. So instead, I'm going to try to get close, but focus on the richness of the colors. The French Ultramarine works as a really good base layer for where the highlights are going to go, and as we get to the darker areas, I'll add more of that magenta and then some Yellow Ochre to mute it. My plan is to make the hair a lighter reddish brown where the light is going to be hitting it, and then make it a cooler blue-violet in the shadows. It's a warm and cool color dynamic, which always looks pretty good if you can nail it. Now, this doesn't feel realistic, but even in real life, hair is rarely a dead color. Light will warm it up, light will cause differences, and there'll be different hues within the hair. I think these 3 colors actually look really great in the painting itself. I love being bold with the brush strokes as I block in the basic hair strands. When I paint hair, I want to try and keep it fairly loose, and I enjoy how it looks. At this point, the painting looks really strange. Even while I was painting it, it felt like a disaster, but I just really had to trust the process. Right now, there aren't any true darks put in, so everything looks off, and it'll look off until I get the dark eyebrows and the dark eyelashes and pupils in. These colors really excel at making a wide range of browns. Adding just a little bit of blue completely expands the possibilities. Now for the face to look natural, it's important for colors to blend with each other smoothly, and at the same time it's important to make the planes of a face clear, so I'm trying to do that as I craft this portrait. I'm going to go ahead and step away for a little bit while you enjoy the painting process. If there's something I'd like to share, I may interject, but for most of it, I'm just going to leave it to you. If you're enjoying this video, please go ahead and leave a like. I'll see you in a few minutes. I had a ton of fun with this video, and if you did too, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.